Dudjom
Om
Tashi Delek, everyone. Welcome to the foundation class. We are going through the commentary by Lama Tharchan Rinpoche on the Dudjom Tersar Ngöndro. So we'll start. So we have the opening prayers and so forth. So please use that one. So please bring in mind the precious motivation of the Bodhicitta, wishing to bring all motherly sentient beings to the state of perfect and complete Buddhahood. Now we'll engage in listening to the profound teachings and bring forth the understanding of the meaning of these profound teachings, and thereby engage in my life.
Che Dudjom Tersar Ngöndro Shamsen Tashi Delek
Okay, now page 59. 7 branches prayers. Dorje lomben sangye pen de sum shulai chanzen lon chonsum tembe shinjuro lai nime yeke chansu che nge juro yeke nam trumpe dambe chenpa shesu ngudru chuo chebe ge neje malu shampa ge Chochu korosum dambe che macha chenlai jera dambe taji drinma me zombe janchu semke do deshe wanchu semba la dambai sumge lubelo Tsera dambe gewanam dune chonju chontu mandala offering. Sanjin Penchun Junshin Mento Tram Re Ling Shin Ninden Genbande Sangye Shingdu Mikde Purwa Yi Drogun Namdai Shinglai Chenparasho Yidam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryadayam Simchen Namge Sambandan Loye Jendrai Jetawa Chechon Junmon Tembaye Cheke Korolo Korado. Now you can meditate for a while I do the invocation, the blessings of the lamas. Lamandan gombo jozen jambe yang lan chancelon tembalame sange rimboche chobalame damche rimboche rembalame gede rimboche chamne gunjo sum lai chen bambun tabge toje shakcha resun chon shinge methode ke pongjom sergel humbo tabur jibe go shaja ge bo shamla Chancellor Balden Sony Chuter Subaling and Kenze Karange Sandro Charbeb Ganchen Kedo Yonke Zogjencho. Soge Dorjen Drove Lama du Lama Dangombo Jeze Jambe Yangla Chancellor. Gangelo Jemne Gender Nitranam Dagra Sewe Jinne Dengun Jejin Zechernike Tokaralek Bamze. Kanda Sidbe General Mare Mentum Dunge Gezewe, Roso Kunla Boche Tarse Yanla Drucho Yang Denso. Druktar Chedrone Monen Lon Leke Chandro Drezeche, Mare Munsa Dunge Nugo Jine Chedzereden. Tenne Dachin Sacho Tarse Yenden Lezo Gese Tueko, Chota Chodan Shunegen. Dalo Munse Jambe Yang La Rabdu Dio Mara Pantanangyo. Omara Banzana de Omara Banzana de Omara Banzana. Omara Banzana de Zenden Keke Kenrai Vezerke Dalu Timum Barasen. Kadan Tenjen Shunlu Tobaye Lodre Bomben Nawa Zemdus. Chugu Gundu Zambo Gombaye Dorje Semba Garab Dorje Nan Shire Singhe Bardo Jinlande. De Dharma Jenda Da de Sumge Zochen Jube Lama La Sewande Ugen Pema June La Sewande. Munze Ugenchem Munze Rizin Yuden Dorjezel Maung de Shem Bata Yesham Data Bejung gets up dropping. Jigdra Yeshe Dorjela Serwade Sange Kunge Chime Pema Jung Shingder Trube Zen Long Kange Yansi Tilen Norbola Serwade So Jalme Chenjelo Choge Lama Namke gets up to. Wangurlung Zen Shome Shendenche, Bebe Neljor Kundan Zo Chemba, Sange Doje Shamla Sewa. Omenche Geyenge Podrandu, the Sum Sange Kunge Ngon, Nidrang Semche Gungun Sum Denzepa. Zawe Lame Shamla Sewa, Den Nelo Topa Kevara Genjelo, Lekbara Shepa Popa Kedo. Okay, so. Please bring in your mind the precious motivation of the Bodhisattva. So in order to listen to the teachings, we need to have the proper intention. The intention is to bring all motherly sentient beings to the state of perfect and complete Buddhahood. To do so, then I will listen to the profound teachings and bring forth the understanding of the meaning of the profound teachings and thereby engage in my life. So that is the vast aspiration of the Bodhisattva. And then there is the profound skillful method of secret tantra and so forth in the teachings. For example, viewing the teacher as excellent and the teachings as excellent, the place as excellent, the retinue as excellent, the time as excellent, and so on and so forth. There are so many things. So anyway, to get rid of our ordinary habitual mind, rather generating pure perception. And that way, if you can cultivate in this way, then you would be receiving the teachings directly from the Buddha like that. So that is also one of the reasons that when we, start to teach, we invoke the blessings of the Lama, as I did earlier. It's not that I'm going to speak something out of my confused mind. Rather, I invoke the blessings so that whatever I say is the blessings and the teachings from the lineage. So I invoke the blessings in that way so that I have the blessings, and then also that no obstacles or hindrances come in these teachings like that. So those are the reasons. Anyway, the subject of the teachings that we are going through is the preliminary practice. This is the foundation practice. Right now we're on chapter 8, but we started from the beginning with the introduction and so forth. Why preliminary practice is important? It is the foundation. If one wants to pursue or wants to undertake the path of the Buddha path that is unerring, that is complete and without any errors, then we need to rely on a proper path. That proper path based on proper view. That view based on the view and based on the proper view, and then based on that proper view that we contemplate, we meditate, and we conduct or behave or we practice in that way. As the Buddha said, that our view, our meditation, our conduct has to be flawless. If they are flawless, then Buddhahood is doubtless. Buddhahood is, can be achieved without any obstacles at all. So, therefore, in order for us to pursue the path, we need to have a foundation practice which is based on this proper view, the right view, the right meditation, the right conduct, and so forth like that. And usually these are taught in the foundation practice, and particularly here in the Dudjom Tersar, this is the quintessence, or like the concise, or like, how would you say, like the shortest, in the brief way. If one is practicing this, it usually takes like 5 or at the most 10 minutes, if you don't include the accumulations. If you use the accumulations, then it will depend on how many accumulations that you are dedicating. But anyway, the foundation practice is like building the foundation. So if you have a stable foundation, then what we call as the next step is receiving the main teachings, engaging in the main part of the practice. For example, like the generation stage practice, the completion stage practice, and the great completion stage practices, and so forth. So they kind of fit perfectly because you have a stable and firm foundation. And when we say stable and firm foundation, it's referring to our mind, because our mind carries on that habit from countless lifetimes. So if we are told to practice, then maybe we are inspired for a day, and soon as we walk out from the classroom or from the temple or from the center like that, then you again fall back to your ordinary habits. So in order to stabilize your mind, to stabilize your practice, this kind of foundation practice is very, very important. And then if you haven't done that, then you could have spent 20, 30, 40 and more years like that, and you'd still be kind of inconfident, or you have no conviction, you have no confidence in your practice like that. So then you need to remember it's because you don't have the foundation, because you never spend time to engage in the path, how it is laid according to our samsaric habit. So how to dismantle those. So then, like the mind train, it begins with mind training first. The mind trainings talk about the qualities of freedom, why we should pursue the path that brings liberation. And the teachings talk about the defects of cyclic existence. If we were to just kind of waste our time in samsaric activities, and what would be the shortcomings, or what would be the errors, and so forth like that. So having inspired by that we want to gather some qualities within our own being, understanding the defects of cyclic existence and the qualities of freedom from samsara and so forth, then we start contemplating on fortunate human birth. It talks about fortunate human birth, how this life is precious, how this opportunity is very rare and special, and so forth. And then also talks about how fragile this life is, that it could perish any time, any moment. It talks about impermanence. So we contemplate on fortunate human birth, contemplate on impermanence of life, and then further on, then we contemplate on cause and effect, infallible nature, the undeceiving nature of cause and effect. And then the defects, the essenceless of samsara. And then further on we go on, how to investigate, how to rely on a teacher, how we go in search of a lama or a spiritual guide or teacher, like that. And then there's so many teachings, or so many texts written on how to find a teacher and so forth. So those are all the preliminaries of the preliminaries. So once you go through all of those, then that is called the mind training. So mind has been you weed out from all of the unnecessary things. Your mind just becomes the right container, or the right vessel. And then that kind of mindset allows you to enter into the Buddha path, which we call as the refuge. Refuge is the gateway, the entrance way to the path of Buddha's teaching. So, and then like that, and how we understand Buddha, how we understand Dharma, how we understand Sangha, and so on and so forth. So that way, then now we pave our road, or we pave our path in the Dharma like that. So those are the ways. So those are what we call as the foundation practice. So, and I give the example, it's like gardening. Before we start the actual plantation, then we need to make sure that there are no obstacles. The garden is fertile and does not have any weeds and any rocks and other kind of things that would obstruct or hinder the growth of our plantation like that. So exactly like that, foundation practice is like that. If we don't invest our time in foundation practice, then we would have spent so many years kind of on the path, but we would not have, or we would not have gone any further, or we would not have advanced at all in our path. So therefore, all the lamas in the lineage, they emphasize why it is important for us to engage in the preliminary practice. And there are certain requirements in the preliminary practice. For example, there are 100,000 times of refuge verses that we need to recite. There are 100,000 times of the Bodhicitta, cultivation of the Bodhisattva, the Bodhicitta, we say the awakened mind. That verses needs to be recited 100,000 times. And then there are the 100,000 times recitation of the mandala offering and so forth. So all of those we went earlier. Wow, what does it mean by mandala offerings? And then gradually you are initiated into the tantric path of deity phenomena. For example, Vajrasattva as the deity of purification. Also we talked very well why we need to purify our negativities and so on and so forth. So then the introduction to the deity phenomena, the introduction to the mantra phenomena, and so on and so forth, and then the meditative civilizations and so forth are there like that. So like that, and then eventually you come to Guru Yoga. So we just finished Guru Yoga. So today we are going to go through Poa. What I was trying to tell you all is that this preliminary practice, which is called Ngöndro, sometimes people kind of misunderstand that this is unnecessary, but this is absolutely wrong. We need to remember that this is the main part of our practice. We shouldn't think that this is the ABC of practice. In fact, this is the Dharma path. For beginners, this is the foundation. As you advance, this becomes the path. And further on, once you have stabilized and so forth, this itself becomes the fruition or the result like that. So we should not underestimate the power of the practice of preliminaries. So therefore, I urge you all and encourage you all to practice like that. If you are really interested in pursuing the path of the Buddha path, as I told you, in order for us to achieve Buddhahood, we need to rely on a path that is complete and free from any errors, free from any flaws like that. So therefore, preliminary practice is very, very important. Okay, so today we are going to talk about Poa. Poa, chapter 8, Poa, Chut, and the dedication of merit. In Ngöndro, Poa is the prayer of aspiration to be liberated into Amitabha's pure realm at the moment of death. So, Poa is transference of our ordinary consciousness into the pure dimension, or we talk about the pure realm, like that, or to our pristine nature, our own nature. So there are so many different levels of Poa. Generally, they are categorized into five kinds of transference like that. The first one is called the transparence of the Dharmakaya, which, for example, there are highest teachings of the Buddhas, like the teachings oriented through wisdom dimension. Such teachings, if one is capable to comprehend or understand those teachings, you would never fall back into your ordinary habit. Your awareness would how would you say, your awareness would arise, or awaken into its innate wisdom nature, that there is no reverting into samsaric habit. So there are cases like that. For example, King Indrabhuti, and then Pang Mepam Gombo, and so forth. But King Indrabhuti, he is kept as an example of that kind of being whose understanding or whose wisdom or whose intelligence was so sharp that he got it when the Buddha introduced him to that kind of wisdom teachings. And Pang Mepam Gombo, he is kept an example that he had such devotion, such undaunted devotion, that when he heard these teachings, that he came to realization. So one oriented through discerning awareness of wisdom, the realizing their true nature, the other one like Pam Mepam Gombo, coming to realize their nature, driven through undaunted, unshakable faith and devotion like that. So that kind of person, once that teaching is given, they come to realize the abiding nature, and there is no falling back. Such kind of transference is called the Dharmakaya transference. So it can happen to those kind of beings like that. And then there is the Sambhoga Kaya Poa, those who are initiated to the teachings through generation stage practice, completion stage practice, and so forth. So in their life, they engage in those meditation, for example, clear light nature, So having accustomed or having habituated in those kind of practice and meditation, like deity phenomena and so forth. So there are so many of those. It's not kind of appropriate to talk about at this particular occasion, at this time, because these teachings are considered to be secret in their nature like that. So but anyway, there is this introduction to the teachings on luminosity, the generation stage practice, and so forth. So then as they get accustomed to that, and then when death happens, as the dissolution starts, and then as dissolution starts, and then as their grasping habit and so forth kind of become frail, and if they can remain in that awareness and so forth, if they can recognize that clear light, so that kind of practice is called the meeting of the mother luminosity. Mother luminosity is our innate nature. The child luminosity is what we are practicing right now, introduced by our teacher, meditation, remaining in that luminosity, in that practice, and so forth. So when death comes, when all of these, the barriers, the shell, and so forth, fall apart, and then there's this chance for those who are habituated in this practice, for this mother and child luminosity to meet. So that there is particular terminology called the meeting of the child and the mother luminosity. At that time, then they can liberate. That is another kind of transference like that, and so on and so forth are there like that. And then so that is during the time of dissolution or during the time of death. And then if one wasn't able to deliberate at that time, then the next chance is when the consciousness has left the body, and then when that mind or that awareness is wandering in the intermediate state where the future life hasn't happened. So there is this time which is very much like the subconscious moment, where that state of awareness is unsullied by conceptual mind, where that habitual mind has kind of released for a moment, has where that conceptual habit hasn't come. And what happens is the display of the basis. This is during the bardo, which is called the bardo of Dharma, the bardo of the basis, the bardo of the basic. This is called the display of the basis. At that time, what is inherent manifests, for example, like dream state. So this bardo of Dharmata is what the display of what is innate, for example, deity phenomena and so on and so forth, the mandalas and so forth manifest. And these practitioners who have this habit of practicing and in meditating within the state of the mandala and so forth, when these mandalas manifest, if they can recognize, then there is the chance of liberating into Sambhogakaya. Once again, this is called the liberation Sambhogakaya. But there are two instances. One was during the dissolution, during the time of death. Now this is during the time of the intermediate state, where conceptual mind has not been, it's not influenced by the conceptual mind, and then the next bardo, the bardo of formation, hasn't taken effect. So that is called, again, there's chance of liberation at that time for those practitioners. So just mentioning because these are the different kinds of poa like that. And then further on, there is the practice for practitioners to engage in their awareness, so that when now the next bardo is called the bardo of formation, the bardo that is determining your next life, because the mind falls into that conceptual habit. Remember the other instance I was saying, this is the state uninfluenced by the habitual mind or conceptual mind. But then once that is over, then that habit of the conceptual mind takes place. Karma, the forces of karma starts to act and so on and so forth. At that time there are teachings, like in the teachings mentioning that to stop the doorway to the unfortunate births, like miserable births and so on and so forth, and to choose birth into pure realms and so forth. And if necessary, to choose the birth of a fortunate human birth will all the find all the excellent conditions of life and so forth. So those are also called the bardo practice like that. So if you miss the chance, further on there is also making the aspirations that may I come back as in the birth of a precious human birth, like the turku and so on and so forth, phenomena so happens like that. So particularly here now we went through four kinds of, and the fifth one is called the transference through the three metaphors or the three intention. So we use these three intentions. Our center channel as the path, our awareness as the traveler, and then the pure realm as the destination. So these three metaphors or three intentions, using our channel as the path, our energy as the traveler, and then the pure realm as the destination, like that. So this is the general kind of poa that is introduced to in general to everyone like that. This is also the same thing here. So we recite these two lines 3 times each session. So I'll just show this is what we recite.
Gumbo
So like that, that's the verse. So the next, following the next verse, is the chud and the dedication of merit, like that. So okay. So it's good to practice in this way. That this is actually Milarepa, the great yogi of Tibet. He says this is that opportunity, very very precious moment that we can aim to utilize, because and then to direct our consciousness to pure and like that, using these three metaphors like that. And that's why it says it's not death to a yogi, but it is a tiny awakening moment to Buddhahood, like that. So okay, back to the commentary here. Gombo Bamela Sevade Samlampoa Jombar Jinjala. The verses mean, I pray to Amitabha, the Lord Protector of infinite light. Grant your blessings that I may accomplish the profound path of the transference of consciousness. Each Buddha have, very special aspiration. They came to awaken to Buddhahood, and then at that time they made that, vast aspiration. And each of these Buddhas have very special aspiration. For example, Buddha Amitabha here, this Buddha infinite light, his aspiration is whoever recollects his name will be born in his pure realm, called Sukhavati or Buddha Amitabha pure realm Deva Chen, like that. So that's the reasons we pray, we practice or we recite this prayer like that. That is his special aspiration, that whoever recollects my name, whoever prays to me in this way, will be born in the Buddha Amitabha pure realm, like that. So the two levels of practice, the creation stage and perfection stage, are actually a preparation for the moment of death. If you are an accomplished practitioner, when you die, you'll recognize the clear-light state of the first bardo. First bardo is the bardo of dying or death. So if you are familiar with when we do the deity yoga and remain in that wakeful state or that recognition of clear light and so on and so forth, when death actually happens, as I told you, all the barriers kind of are released. We talk about, particularly 55 kinds of mental events or mental thoughts, and related to that experience as this dissolution. Death is like, how did we obtain this life? Through the father's essence and the mother's essence. The collision of the father's and the mother's essence trapped this consciousness, like that. So death is that moment when these two essences kind of revert, or kind of, and then when that happens, there is a final collision between the father's essence and the mother's essence. When that happens, everything goes blank, like that. So when this dissolution happens, there are different ways. It doesn't happen exactly the same for everyone, but there's a general way of how it happens. So that's why people kind of explain, they see clear light. They see as if like traveling through a tunnel of light, and the white light kind of guiding light and so on and so forth. These are some of the experiences mentioned in the near-death experiences and so forth, like that. So like that, for practitioners, when such kind of dissolution happens, if they can recognize, there's the chance of liberating. So like that. This results in the attainment of Dharma Kaya Buddhahood. If you miss this opportunity, then due to the dissolution of the constituents of your body, that's why in the Buddhist tradition we talk about the subtle dissolution. Here we think when the heart is stopped, then we say, oh, he or she is dead. But there is furthermore, the subtle elements are further dissolving. So this is what it means, the constituents of your body. The deities begin to appear in the bardo. The deities and our aggregates are not separate. So then, right now what our habits say is that we think that this is my body, this is my feeling, this is my perception, this is my consciousness, and so on and so forth. But when that ego kind of has no more grasping habit, that barrier is dissolved. And then when that happens, what we call as the natural deity manifests. What is natural kind of rises. This is what it means here. You will recognize the deities as they arise to be the very display of your own mind. You will then attain Sambhoga Kaya Buddhahood. For a practitioner who has not completed these two levels of practice, Phowa is the third opportunity to be liberated in the bardo. The practice of the Phowa at the moment of death is the cause for a practitioner to be reborn into a pure land where there is the opportunity to complete the Dharma path. If someone has not completed the two stages of the path, then Phowa can carry them to liberation. Also, this teachings on Phowa is called very, very special teachings of the Buddha. There is an example given, like a mother having 7 children. Out of those 7 children, there is one who is very sick. And the mother's affection and love for all of the 7 children are equal. But then there is further more concern to this particular child who is sick. So like that, this teachings of Phowa is aimed in such a way for the care and concern for those who have not found the path and who have not been able to engage in the path of the practice and so forth. So this is the quintessence practice that can bring liberation. And this teaching is also called Buddhahood without meditation. This class of teaching is called Buddhahood without meditation. So you can learn more about this in the future. There are 4 different types of Phowa. The first is the perfection stage practice. In this Phowa, there is no need to wait for death to be liberated since you are already enlightened. So that, as I mentioned earlier, that happens when you are introduced to that kind of view or to that kind of teaching where there's no reverting from that awakened state, that your ordinary mind cannot influence you anymore, that you are in that state undisturbed. So for that one, there is no now and after. The second Phowa is the realization of the inseparability of the creation and perfection stages. With this realization, you can be liberated in the bardo. As I mentioned, there are different states. Bardo is the intermediate state. So death is also an intermediate state, because death is the, after this life, and then before the next life begins. That's the death. So when you are dying, the dying is that stage. So that is one bardo. And then once you have become completely unconscious, that is also another bardo called the bardo of the basis of dharmata, the true nature of reality, like that. So this applies to 2 kinds here. Lama Tharchin mentions 4 because those 2 are kind of contained within one. So then the third Phowa is the transference of the consciousness into a pure land at the moment of death. With the Phowa of the transference, 3 reference points are used. The first is the pure land of Amitabha called Devachan. The second is your own consciousness as the traveler. And the third is the center channel as the path. Normally when you die, you exit through any of the 9 doors leading to various types of rebirth in the lower and upper realms. So we have 9 different openings or aperture. For example, 2 eyes, two nostrils, 2 ears, mouth, and the 2 lower orifices. So 9 altogether. We have like that. Those, if your consciousness exits through any of those orifices or those exits, then you take different kind of samsaric birth. So, and either you are born in the miserable realm or the fortunate realm, and so on and so forth. It's determined where your consciousness exits from. So, and then the POA practice is called shutting those 9 gates and opening that one gate, the Brahma aperture, the crown fontanel aperture. So shutting the 9 gates and opening that one special gate, that gate which leads to the pure realm, like that kind of teachings are there. So this is the POA teachings. The exit through the center channel is the entrance into a pure realm or pure land. POA seals the other doors which lead to rebirth in samsara. So POA practice seals all of the other doors. To accomplish the POA practice, you must complete a 7-day retreat to receive the signs. So at least you need to do 7 days retreat with a qualified Lama. And it's very important, you need to practice this in person with a qualified Lama. You cannot practice this on your own, because there can be adverse effect. If you don't do it correctly, it can be destructive. So be careful of those. So this is not something you study online or Googling or kind of searching through the internet and so on. This isn't. It's not a joke. It's something to be taken very seriously. So at 7 days is all it requires, and you have a qualified master. Then you have initiated to like basic sitting posture, and then the reassuring of your channels and so forth, and then initiating to the visualization practice and so on and so forth. So if you do that, by the end of the 7 days, you will surely have the signs that you have accomplished this practice. It's important that you need to do with a Lama. We need to do with somebody who has done this practice before. POA is considered the quick path, since even without the experience of meditation, you can still be liberated. POA is also called the path for those who have kind of, even the most negative person who had engaged his or her life entirely in negative commitment or negative deeds or negative actions and so forth. If they meet these teachings, if they come across this teaching, this can liberate them. So like that, and this is that special teaching. So in the POA section of Ngöndro practice, visualize Amitabha above your head. As we went through that short clip, Buddha Amitabha is red in color. He is called Buddha boundless light or infinite light, like that, and in the meditative posture like that, and donned with the sacred robes and like that, sitting on top of lotus in the Vajra posture like that, very resplendent, handsome, radiant like that. That's how you need to visualize like that. And he is above, visualize Amitabha above your head. Amitabha, red in color, is the Dharmakaya Buddha of the Lotus family. Pray that when this life is finished, you will immediately be reborn in Devachan, Amitabha's pure realm. Devachan is Amitabha's pure realm. Sanskrit it's called Sukhavati. The fourth phowa is the hook of compassion. So the fourth phowa is the activity phowa that you use for someone who is dying, who is dead, and so forth. So you hook through your meditation practice, through your compassion. Now, when we say hook, it is your compassion, your intention, hooking onto the consciousness of someone who is dying or who is dead, and then, directing or transferring them to the pure realm like that. So that's the hook of compassion, to liberate others. So like animals, birds, or insects, or beings, human, and like those kind of things, you can, once you have accomplished phowa practice, or like we were saying, after the 7 days, when you have accomplished the signs of phowa practice, then it's one of the commitment of your practice that you want to help others through your compassion to liberate their consciousness to the pure realm like that. So that kind of phowa is called the hook of compassion. When you have accomplished the phowa for yourself, you can help liberate others at their moment of death. Amitabha vowed, when he attained enlightenment, that anyone connected to him would be reborn in Devachan through 4 causes. These are the 4 factors and the 4 causes to be born in Devachan pure realm. First cause is remembering Amitabha every day. The first one is called recollecting Amitabha and the configuration of the pure realm of Amitabha. So how does the pure realm of Amitabha look like that? So, and then the second is reciting the mantra of Amitabha. So then, constantly cultivating Bodhicitta and reciting the Amitabha mantra, Om Ami Devari, or supplicating to Amitabha. The third is visualizing all phenomena as a pure realm. And the fourth is dedicating one's merit to be reborn in Devachan. Here, if I were to reconstruct the words, these 4 factors are called recollecting the pure realm of Buddha Amitabha. So you want to go to Buddha Amitabha's pure realm, you have to remember, how does Buddha Amitabha's pure realm look like? So you need to make that aspiration, like, I want to go to this place. Why? Because this place is special. This is the Buddha field, which is the Buddha field of Buddha Amitabha, and there are many detailed descriptions of how it looks, and the direction is in the northern direction, the western direction. Many world systems beyond this is the Buddha Amitabha's pure realm. So many galaxies beyond this is the Buddha Amitabha's pure realm like that. And how does it look and so forth? So first factor is to remember Buddha Amitabha's pure realm. Second is to have Bodhicitta, that altruistic mind. Without Bodhicitta, there's no way for us, there's no chance for us to get to Buddha Amitabha's pure realm. So we need to have Bodhicitta, that altruistic intention, that I want to be born in Buddha Amitabha's pure realm in order to benefit all motherly sentient beings. So the second factor is to have Bodhicitta. And then the third one is to accumulate great merit. In order to go to Amitabha pure realm, it's not easy. You need to accumulate vast merit. So we need to engage in purifying our negativities and cultivating and blossoming pure qualities and positive qualities. So engaging in virtue through your body, virtue through your speech, virtue through your mind, like that. So you need to accumulate vast merit. So third one. And then the fourth one is to make aspiration. If you don't have the inspiration to go to Amitabha, you won't get there. So you need to make aspiration that I want to be born in Amitabha pure. And soon as this death attacks me, my consciousness will shoot out to Buddha Amitabha's pure. So I constantly pray to Buddha Amitabha that may it be so. May Buddhas and Bodhisattvas grant me the blessings that may this transcendence of my consciousness be unhindered by any other birth whatsoever, like those kind of, so that aspiration, so vast aspirations should be made. Those are the 4 factors. So we can talk more, but those are the 4 essential factors that will that will bring you in the pure realm. A pure realm does not have any direction or location. Yes, that is absolute truth, because pure realm is, it's here and now. There's no distinction between pure and impure, good and bad, and so forth. The absolute definite pure realm is here and now, like that. So when your mind is purified and ignorance and attachment no longer have control, then duality does not exist. The state itself is the pure realm. So that state itself is the pure land. The pure appearance of one's perception is the Vajra realm of great bliss. That is what Vajra realm or pure realm really means. So, when your mind has become, when all duality has collapsed or crumbled, or has all duality is pacified or dismantled, what is inherent reveals itself. That is the absolute truth. So right now this confusion is just temporal. We're only, as long as that habitual mind kind of grips it, it's there. So once we have purified that habitual mind, which is called the dualistic mind, then what is inherent, what is there innately, presents itself. That's dawning, the innate nature, which is there all the time, which has been that way all the time, like that. That's called the Vajra realm of great bliss. Milarepa said, Devachan is right next to you if you have the skill to travel within the center channel. So, as I mentioned earlier, Devachan is just right there if you have the skillful method to travel through your center channel. Pray to Amitabha to give you the blessing to accomplish the path of Phowa. So that's the essential way of how Lama Tharchan Rinpoche comments on the Phowa practice. So this is a very, very special practice. So aspire to learn, aspire to practice this, and so forth. It's also called like an emergency kit. This is, like if you are not able to engage in the other main practices of bringing forth realization and so forth, you have this in handy. You have this handy. So you can practice things like that. So this is like a bonus in our practice. So, and then now comes the dedication. So anyway, we'll leave the dedication for the next class. So if you have any questions, you may ask.
Not currently.
Yeah, not currently. Okay. So that's the way to practice. So please, again and again, I encourage you all to, invest your time in undertaking the preliminary practice. So it's very, very important. It brings confidence in your practice. So, and also we need to practice this preliminary practice when we are young, and then once we go to that age and then we cannot move so much, then the body does not cooperate with our practice. So we need to utilize when we are young, when we're agile, and so forth. And that's it. Okay, so that's all for tonight's class. So we'll do the dedication, page 62. Page 62. So always practice in that way. Remember the Buddha's teachings, and then study, and the more and more you understand Buddha's teachings, then trust in the Buddha's teachings is natural. So when you know more, when you understand the nature of the teachings, then we don't need to kind of fake devotion and so forth. That's natural trust. That's natural conviction that arises. So study the Buddha's teachings. Okay, now dedication. Sunnam Deye Tamje Zegbane Tobne Neben Ranam Pamje Shin Kega Nache Balong Truba Sebe Solen Rovar Sho Jambe Pao Jitara Kemba Kundo Zangbo Deyang Dejin De Dai Kunge Jesu Dagloj Gewa De Dan Tamje Rabdu Ngo De Sum Shemben Gewa Tamje Ngowa Gangla Chodu Ngakbante Dagi Gewe Zawa Dukenj Sangbo Cheche Radu Ngorage Chanchu Semcho Rimboche Make Panam Ke Juruche Keba Nyamba Mebada Gone Gondu Peorasho Janchu Semdai Midrash Chanchu Chela Shawadan Sange Namge Yongzonji Duke Lenang Pongwara Sho Janchu Semba Namgen Roden Tola Gondro Sho Gombo Yene Gangomba Semchen Namla Dejur Semchen Tamche De Dan Denjuru Ching Yendro Tamche Tanto Tongparash Janchu Semba Gangdak Sarjo Pan De Dai Kunge Melam Dru Parasho Gewa Diye Gewa Kun Sonnam Yeshe Tsozoj Sonnam Yeshe Lejong Wen Damba Kunni Tobarasho Rinchen Gezo Diye Rowa Tandu Dambe Chedan Midral Shin Ranshin Dene Zoba Tarchen Chenga Droben Jinden Zebarasho Pende Junne Temba Peljuruchen Serai Kundu Chelai Chejuruche Gelkam Kundu Tashi Gejuruche Drogun Chamche Sange Tobjuruche Lama Kukam Sanwara Selwad Chodu Kutse Ringwara Selwad Chinle Darjin Gebara Selwad Lama Dan Trewa Mebara Chinge Lo Kandu Kebe Kewa Tamjed Tore Yinten Dunden To Parasho Kema Tadu Chedan Trejuruch Surjin Rube Rangwang Ye Parasho Derian Lama Damba Neje Nindan Sendu Chelai Che Parasho Chedo Nene Ningbo Dendro Sede Sebe Janso Gawasho Sebara Dambe Cherab Denjej Shempen Rulai Chonga Mebarasho Labchen Shenden Chore Meba Tamche Chamche Sange To Parasho Chesul De Nede Gil Korashin Choge Tadru Kundu Rajurut Lode Pemo Rabdu Geje Chin Sange Temba Darashin Ge Parasho Lungri Tebe Mishi Drible Menga Sambe Tezom Munajo Gomjo Yeke Nelo Jejinse Shera Sumge Nawai Ge Barasho Ken Lo Chesum Ring Lo Chen Zamle Sasum Champarampe Dujun Chonsun Nawanda Midre De Sum Gele Sho Nandra Resum Langa Chegu Ngang Kuda Yeshe Rurbara Jamlebe Sabsan Aljur Chembu Nyamlen La Irme Tuke Tigle Roche Sho Kewa Kundu Yanda Lama Dan Dharme Chege Pala Lonche Che Sadan Lamge Yende Rabzo De Palden Lame Gopa Nyuroto Sho Om Ahum Benzang Guru Pema Siddhiho Om Ahum Benzang benza guru bema sindi Om Ahum benza guru bema sindi Om Ahum benza guru bema sindi Om Ahum benza guru bema te drensa benza samaya Sindhi Pala Om Ahum benza guru bema Sindhi Tetengsa benza samaya Sindhi Pala Om Ahum benza guru bema te drensa benza samaya Sindhi Pala Okay, everyone, take good care, stay well, and then see you soon. Tashi Delek, bye bye.